Have you set a course for your life? Do you do that every day? Knowing what you want is intention. Knowing how to get there is a study in conscious action. This is a show about living consciously. It is about our choices, our hopes, our dreams, our work, our loves, our vision, and the practice of healing and becoming. Welcome to Cruising in the Light and Shadow. Hello, I am Sheila Marie, also known as Kicha.
And I am Inanna Moon, and we are here today with Lori St. Clair, who's visiting us again. She is a wonderful astrologer, and she's also a holistic healing practitioner, and today's topic is energetic healing, or actually today's topic is healing of all kinds. So we will channel in whatever we need today. Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
So I'm sitting with two healers, because you are a Reiki healer.
Reiki Shin Kung. Yes, but I go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was about to dive in. It has seemed to me that everything has become about healing today because we're in a world of people and situations and arenas that are not just sitting status quo and comfortable, but are either falling apart or rising, and all of that requires rebalancing, regrouping, and healing. Anyway, everything I do seems to relate to that.
Totally.
And Lori, what about you?
No, I totally agree, Inanna, is that anything can really be healing. It just depends on the consciousness that you bring to it. I do certain healing modalities like the astrology and mediumship, which Inanna does as well. And I do Reiki, and, I'm trained in massage and reflexology. But really these days, people are waking up, and that's great. But, as you wake up, think about when you're sleeping. When you're waking up, you have to reorient yourself. And so that's really what people are doing right now.
Blink, 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 and try to...
Yeah, wow. Ooh,
so
is this the room I fell asleep in?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
modalities do you use then? I know that Reiki is in there, but again, what other forms do you use?
When I do, I don't do as much... tactical, physical, tactical sounds military, healing modalities as I used to, but now I really do the healing through astrology. And when I do that, I use, the intuition. I'm very psychic and a medium, and I try to just be open to whatever where the person is and what the person needs, and, trusting that the information that person most needs to hear at that time is what's going to come through. And, I think I just said this a few minutes ago, and sorry if I did, because sometimes I'll just start channeling stuff and then I'll forget, that I've said that I've actually argued with somebody. I didn't say that. But the thing about, people, I think it's so important that we can all recognize that just being present for someone, this could be at the grocery store, if you're just present for somebody and, that you recognize them and say hello. People just want to be recognized. They want to be acknowledged. And just, a simple hello or holding the door for somebody can be healing.
It could change everything.
Exactly.
I was thinking of exactly that driving in this
Awesome.
morning. And I was replaying, I think there might have been something on the radio, but about being present in the world. But the thing that came in was how I personally have wanted to change, but I'm noticing around me how people are changing and being present for one another. And yes, that's my thought about, yes, I could meet someone in a room, a massage therapy room, where I'm doing Reiki, or I'm just being open to whatever someone needs with the tools that I've been given or the tools I've learned to be there for someone. But what I was thinking about was just how beautiful it's actually become in the world. People have decided I know that some people made a decision at the beginning of the year to be kinder, but that I'm seeing, like in the grocery stores and shops and different places I might be, how people are actually making a point of saying, "Are you all right? Are you well? How are you doing? Can I help?" I was in a grocery store one evening, and I had 4 different clerks say, "Can I help you? Are you finding everything?" And I'm like, either they've had a talking to, or this is kind of amazing. But I got that they were just being very kind, and people going out of their way to say, "Excuse me," as we walk around one another, as we move around. I'm seeing so much more of that, and it may be, but I actually do believe that it's what we're going through in the world, and it has felt quite unkind and difficult, and so people want to make it a little easier for one another.
I'm wondering because we were talking, and we've been talking, that right now we're at, I want to say, crossroads, right? Everything politically, environmentally, people communicating, we're at a tense moment, right? So things are going to have to dissolve to rebuild, correct?
For sure. To pinpoint it on any one specific thing, I think that people personally, and people in the mass consciousness are always changing, always growing. And but nowadays it's just very evident that more people at the same time are coming into awareness and looking for answers, and also seeking to improve their lives and hopefully the lives of others. But of course, we go to extremes where to gauge anything, it's like chasing, it's like, okay, right there, cruising the light and shadow.
Yes,
is that you can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
Right.
And the thing is that right now we are seeing a lot of darkness and a lot of tyranny and, things that are, not what we would call pleasant. And the thing is, because they're coming up, we are able to look at those, and we are able to heal those, and we're able to come up with some better answers. So,
But I found it interesting that since we are all going through this together, it's interesting that this year has also been one of the hardest hit flu seasons. And I'm wondering,
Well, boy, that's a whole nother podcast, lady.
huge.
For me, because I have very strong feelings about, and people will disagree, but the immunizations and them really not working. And like I said, I know people will disagree, and that's what we're all here for, is to have different opinions. And
That's fine.
different opinions help tolerance and understanding. But the thing is that because people are dealing with so much externally, internally, I've noticed that people are really stressed. They're not taking enough time for themselves. We have so much technology, which is meant to make our lives easier, but because it enables us to do so many more things quicker, as particularly, as Americans, we just keep adding on. It's more. And, it's not, to me, having its rightful place of it makes your life easier so that you can actually have the time for the creative pursuits and the relaxing and the connecting,
with a real person, with a live person,
with
in
a
person.
Yes, exactly.
Not through text.
So I think that's part of the stress and why people are getting
sick.
They're getting sick, and they're kind of staying sick.
Yeah,
because I think there's a lot of expectation on what people should be doing, and they don't allow themselves to rest.
And yes, it's about rest, but you will remain sick if you don't stop and address whatever the issues are whatever the issue might be or issues might be for you personally. And we're in talk about patterns and habits. If you're in the habit of just running no matter what, well, I have to go to this soccer game, or I have to do this for somebody else, and I've done it every day, so nothing's going to stop me now, even though I'm hacking my lungs out and I have no energy, and I've had this thing I've called a cold for 3 weeks, but actually what it's doing is turning into the flu or pneumonia. And if you don't stop, it will stop you. And that's karma. That's the cause and effect that I was talking about when we had an episode on karma. The light and shadow that we're talking about cruising through must come together, and they form the equal and opposite reactions that get talked about. So if you don't stop down, and Lori was saying this too, the lessons will just keep coming and coming and piling up. That's what illness is. That's what all illness is, whether it's about trauma or stress. It ends up in the physical, but I believe it starts in a much higher place. It's in consciousness, where you are in your consciousness, where you are in your thoughts, in your thought patterns. Do those need to be addressed? Do you need to be forced to stop down to have a thought just to say, this is where I am, this is what I'm dealing with? I may have to lay everything down to come back to my center, my core, my equilibrium. And a lot of people won't do that until they drop. But if you can start to do it now, I notice with this flu, everyone that I've, whether I've worked with them or whether it's been other people that I just kind of know, friends, if they've had the flu for a couple of weeks, I'll stop talking in a moment.
No,
we're
totally
agreeing.
relating.
We're totally agreeing.
If they've had the flu for 2 or 3 weeks, and they finally did stop down, and then they just push themselves again, they'll go, okay, well, it seems like it might be going away. I'll just get up and go. And then here it comes back again. And now this one, I've seen it in the past cycles of flus and colds, but it'll come back again. And now it's coming back again and again and stronger. So many things are transpiring energetically to say you need to listen. You need to see what's going on. And it's the individual, and then the family, and then the neighborhood and the community, and on.
Globally, yeah.
Right. And I'm glad that you brought that up about you need to listen. And Sheila Marie, you were saying about, we'd touched on the disconnection from, the human interaction. And what happens when you get sick? You have to tend to your body. And so many people have not been tending to the physical body. Everybody's on the internet, everybody's on their phone, everybody's watching TV. Everything is outside of yourself. And when all of your energy is outside of yourself, there's no energy, for the body to run. People have become so disconnected with the wisdom of the body, even just going outside and connecting with nature. We've got a lot of people living in cities, living in apartments, people don't farm like they used to farm. There's a lot of disconnect between just human interaction, which we know is so healing. You can see when, babies are born, the ones that are held right away and cradled, they develop faster. And that goes throughout life. When I did do massage professionally, I would have certain clients, I remember the first time I had a woman come in and she started crying. And I was thinking, oh my God, what is this? And she said, it's been so long since I've been touched. And, it makes me teary. I mean, and this is going way back. It still makes me teary to think about that, how, we can take these things for granted, but they are just so necessary. And I think when people get sick, we've disconnected from our soul. Our body is the temple of our soul, and we need to take care of it. We need to honor it. And and take that time. The societal expectations on what you should be achieving, and especially because everything's on the internet and people post, "Oh, my life is so great, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that," and
Look what I'm doing.
and what and in real time, they're on the floor having a nervous breakdown, and I think that is something that's real, and people put a lot of pressure on themselves, and it's so important, and particularly because there's been a lot of breakdown with the government, with insurance, and what's going to be covered under health care. And I think a lot of that kind of points back towards people being their own advocates and getting into what is real. And, is my food real? Are my relationships real? There's a lot about substance and what really nurtures you. And we had talked a little bit before about astrologically, there will be a very big shift coming up in May when one of the major planets shifts signs. The planet Uranus will be moving out of Aries and into the sign of Taurus. The middle of May, and that will be very significant. Like Uranus deals with, it is the planet of lightning and thunder. It's about awakenings and revolution. And as it moves into Taurus, Taurus is one of the planets that is all about, the tangible, the body, all the senses, what I can see, what I can smell, what I can feel. And I think there's going to be a lot of changes around people's values, their whole value system, and money, things that are very, very much about how we support ourselves. Right. And there's going to be a big awakening about that, but there will be some big shakeups. I did mention I'm not a mundane astrologer. That's world politics. But, just the whole thing of really getting back to basics is going to be very much upfront. So when we do get back to basics, it's like you take care of yourself. You brush your teeth. You put on your...
Simplifying.
Exactly. Simplifying.
Not in denial.
Right. Not in denial, and we will not be able to be in very much denial then. So...
Because that comes, there are plenty of people who say, they'll come in for sessions saying, they have some instinct about wanting to get a jump on being in a better place with themselves. And so, but when you get to a point where everything just starts to break down, people have no choice but to notice what's happening.
And then you have to make it better.
Yes, exactly. And people will panic and
for sure
be fearful. I just have this strong, perhaps I'm an ever hopeful person, but I just have this strong thought with all the people that I see who are doing whatever their spirituality is, their practices, they're finding their balance and their healing are holding space for others who are kind of flying willy-nilly around the world with and you know what, and I don't want to demonize doing what you love and having fun with social media and technology and so forth, but at some point, if there is, oh, heaven help us, if there is a breakdown, that there will always be, and it's actually historically accurate, when people are, I'm on social media now because I felt like I kind of needed to learn about it. I just wanted to learn about it, but I find it extraordinary how much time people take.
Mm-hmm. It goes like that. But I also listen, all of this yoga that I and so many people have studied, and all of our ancient traditions for healing and balance and well-being that are still here that people use become a foundation or a platform for things that fall apart, for problems that arise for people. Again, I keep coming back to that light and shadow, where there is a light to hold what has not been in balance and what is not working for people, to come back to the basics, the simplicity. It's
we are going through the hardest time. It's the fessing up of, would I have ever wanted a president like we have at this time? However, I sure have to say, everything that is broken is being pointed up because of the situation we're in. Everything that doesn't work, everything that wasn't in place, he's a catalyst. He's a let's use the word tool. Yeah, there we go.
He is a tool.
For
He's an agent of chaos.
There we
We're
go.
going back
Yes.
to Get Smart, but he is an agent of
for
chaos.
and an agent for change. Then,
Exactly.
because chaos is nothing but creativity and
Exactly.
change waiting to be ordered.
Exactly.
I agree completely.
So
I
he's
think that's the
stirring
gift.
everything
Yeah.
up. He's the
And-
tornado stirring everything
Right.
up.
And can I jump in there?
Please,
can I jump
please.
into the tornado?
Yeah.
Is-
Leap right in.
it is I think that's such a great point that you're making, Inanna, is that it's just the consciousness that you bring to something, the consciousness that you bring to anything is, yes, all of these things are being brought out into the light, and they may not, they're some things
not
are
pretty.
some things are not so pretty, but
Yes.
you have the opportunity to be proactive instead of reactive. And that's, part of staying healthy and wellness is that you are able to master your mind and be proactive instead of reactive. And, if you can be completely neutral, that's great. Then you're the Buddhist, Zen master.
Now you've reached that level.
Exactly. But the thing is for people, I think it's so important that people keep in mind that, you can't control anything. You can't control everything. You can't control, all you can control is you and your mind. And people get so caught up in the fear, like you said.
The fear,
And how is this going to end? And they have that attachment to outcome. And
Very much.
Why did this happen?
right.
Yeah.
And to me.
To me,
To me,
yes,
it's
why did
all
this
about
happen
me.
to me?
Yeah.
Well, it is. Yeah. I mean, that's the first place you're going to go.
Yeah.
But that fear is, again, putting that power outside of you, putting the energy outside of you, and you are not able to manage your own energy. And often, because so many people, like you said, are going off the rails, that it's just out there so that it's almost like we're swimming in it, and then you take on other people's energy and other people's fears, and you don't recognize it. And you don't recognize it as not being your own. And then you're thinking, why am I so anxiety? And that's why a spiritual practice definitely right now is so important. And even, if you don't want to call it a spiritual practice, if you have something physical, tangible that you can do, like the yoga or the working out,
Meditation.
something that grounds you is going to so improve your wellness. And like I have mentioned before, this is definitely meditation for me is a public service.
I love that.
So, just keep that in mind. Whatever it is that you can do to help yourself
Will
is
help
always,
everyone else.
Exactly. It's the ripple effect.
Yes, exactly.
very much
Exactly.
And again, I want to make that point that it doesn't, you don't have to go out and take Tai Chi and
Right.
Qigong and so forth. The people that talk about just walking in their neighborhood and looking at nature.
Yes.
Appreciating.
Gardening, anything you do that allows you to have quiet time for yourself. We talk about, when I teach meditation, the first thing I say is 20 minutes a day, 2 times a day, take some time out to unknot your belly
Ooh,
or
I like
wherever
that visual.
wherever it is you hold your stress. Let your shoulders drop
Is
and
that- okay.
breathe and
Totally.
read something or just sit quietly. Honestly, I would say turn off your phone, turn off the TV, because that's taking your attention and things are knotting up. Actually, things in your body are stressing when you're watching or listening to these things. So it's just turning everything off and letting yourself be there.
Well,
and
technology
be
is laughing
quiet.
at us, literally. Because what was it today in the news? The Amazon Dot or Alexa?
Oh,
was
Alexa.
Alexa.
Right.
Was
Alexa,
laughing?
right. Oh, that was horrifying.
Yes. Yes.
So yes, turn it off, just like you're saying. Turn it off.
Well, exactly. And it just gives you space for you. It's like you
What
said.
do I think? What is going?
Exactly.
Let me just look
Turning
at
within.
where I am right now and enjoy instead of don't look at the problems even. Sometimes it's just let me just be. Let me be.
Or allow it. Well, it's really hard to allow yourself to be, because again,
That is
it's like,
true.
oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, but I'm going to take a moment for myself. I feel guilty taking a moment for myself. No, you have to.
I would say the
Self-care.
majority of people, ever since I started meditating so many years, so many years ago, there's so many people afraid to sit alone. They're like, what's going on with my
so
mind
good.
if I sit quietly? They find it strange and they're uncomfortable with it.
I think that's a really good point. And the thing is to anybody that does feel like that will lessen. The more that you keep doing it will lessen. It's just that ego that, it needs, that's the way it survives.
The ego likes the chatter
Exactly.
and the high energy buzzing.
The ego likes a problem because problems need to be solved. And that's how the ego exists. And, and it's a defense mechanism. We've always got
Fight and
chatter.
flight.
We've got chatter all the time,
But there's another part to us that I always talk about. That's the higher self, that quiet self, or the essence of you that actually knows who you are and why you are and where you're going from here. There's a higher self that needs to be re-employed. We've had times in our history where we lived more from that higher consciousness, that higher self, than we did by the ego. And there's been a shift. They being, it's not only yogis, but even in archaeological climes, they've talked about the fact that this age that we're in, when technology started to come in, a little more than 300 years ago, the more the technology, the more we needed to be in the egoic mind for creating. And it's the busy mind that is actually the creative mind, but the higher mind is still there, and there should be a balance between the two. There we are, the shadow and the light.
the balance.
And remember, I'm not saying that the shadow is a bad thing. I'm saying it may be the energy that hasn't formulated yet, the chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So-
You need the space. You need both. You need the energy of being busy, but then you need a space to allow something to come up out of that.
What were we talking about? That if you take something out, you have to put something back in, right?
Oh, that was actually on the topic of healing.
Yes.
When we were talking, it was about if you remove an illness or you remove
Right. Nature
something
abhors
that's
a vacuum.
not working for you, you must replace it with something light or something that has a higher resonating energy. Yes, nature abhors a vacuum.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually just talking to another friend of mine about, especially people that, sage and clear their space or their person, is that there's this whole emphasis on that, like the clearing, and people get kind of like really militant about, oh, I have to clear. Oh, that person was so negative, and they can get so, adamant about it that they actually are like creating more intense energy about how they have to clear out this negative energy.
They're leaving a trail behind
exactly.
them as they're cleansing.
Oh, the visual.
So we were saying how so many people will focus a bit on, that clearing and that cleansing, but not that replenishing. Putting the white light in, or, taking some rose spray, whatever it is that
spray.
just...
But then meditating.
But like your introduction to your show all the time, are you intentioning for your life? If you're always focusing on what's wrong and how can I clear this negative energy and what's wrong with this person, how many people will so often say, oh my God, what's wrong with me? You know, how many people say, "Oh, what's right with me?" You know, what's right with this situation? And you know, I mean, obviously, it's you know, an idea that's really caught on is, you know, the law of attraction is, and people just, you know, it's real, you know, and so just remembering to just bring that balance back. Like you said, you have to bring the balance back into, okay, you know, a problem came up. Now, how do I go forward with this? And what do I employ for, you know, it's brought me wisdom. It's
what are the good things
understanding
about this problem?
Right. And now going forward,
Right.
you know,
Right.
not
Let's use what I
staying
learned.
stuck, not staying in fear,
Right.
you know,
Right.
focusing on the
Releasing-
solution. Exactly.
Releasing that for the opportunity of why this thing came up, whatever it may be, for a reason, and it was a good reason. I also believe that the universe is a positive, loving place. God is not out to get you.
No.
I totally believe that. Yeah, it's supposed to be a loving
Yeah.
energy. So
Yes. And so anything that comes up that we think is negative, which to the ego is, wait, that wasn't in my plan. I made plans, you know. Wait, it's supposed to just follow my plan. If something steps in, it's the something is usually a good thing, or you find out eventually that it's a good thing, that something stepped in the way of a plan and brought you a new perspective.
And that can be the illness,
And
you
it
know,
can be,
that steps
absolutely.
in and just makes you aware of, hey, your habits and your thoughts are out of alignment, and now your body is out of alignment. You know, we're just going to get your attention any way we can. And so when you're finally down and out, and exactly, you're coughing and hacking, I did get that flu, and I was so good. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm not going to get sick, you know, and I did not take care, and I was putting myself under some very stressful situations, and then I just went crazy, and I ate like massive amounts of sugar for like 3 days straight, like ridiculous amounts. Like I should be like, you know, bigger than this studio, okay? I mean, I have this super high fast metabolism, but right after I did that, boom, I got that flu. You know, it's like I, you know, was mentally stressed, and then I physically stressed my body with all that, you know, bad input. It's like if you put junk fuel in your car, you know, it's going to run.
it's going to run down.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to run. It's going to break down.
Yeah.
So,
What do you think about this? I was yet another show I was listening to on the radio. There's an actress, and I hope I have her name correct. I didn't see the spelling, but Eve Ensler is in New York, and she's traveling around, and she's doing a show about the cancer that she got and her healing.
This is a Vagina Monologues lady, correct?
Is that?
Eve
I
Ensler?
don't know.
Yeah.
All right. She's doing another show, another one-woman show then about the healing that she found from her cancer in particular. And this is lately. And that she's found that cancer comes from trauma to her mind and from what she's seeing. All right. And
I
then,
totally believe that.
And that when she had to face it, and of course that's when there you go. That's one of the places where you stop down and ask all the questions. What is this? Why did this happen? And she thought of all types of possibilities. But then she also had to ask, well, how am I going to heal from this? And she went the way of both allopathic or traditional Western medicine, and then she also used some more alternative methods. But it always came back to her, and the realization was that, you know, ultimately she had to decide. And that's scary. I can understand that. That would be very frightening for people to say, well, should I go forward with the radiation, or should I go forward with this, that, or another thing? And if I don't, what will be the outcome? But it's all served to, I hope I would proceed with this grace, but it's allowing your own inner compass, your intuition to work for you. But intuition doesn't work alone. You have to have knowledge. So you gather your knowledge and then you let your intuition work for you. And then you choose your practitioners that will work with you, that team. And when I was listening to that, I was also thinking, well, that's also how I think of the universe. And every time we've talked about spirit guides, that's part of your team as well.
Yeah.
That's the team that's always walking with you, because just as sure as you think you're just this entity that's a body walking around, you are spirit, and every other spirit is connected to you and working with you as well. So this allowing for meditation it isn't just a relaxation response. It is a time, a chance to channel, to receive. There has to be a time to receive that's different than an energy that's giving out. And healing to me is part of that lesson about being in a place of reception.
I love that. I love what you said. It's so necessary for people to keep that in mind. It's so important. And that meditation is, what reconnects us to our guides and our soul, because our source is always love. It's always healing. It's always the best possible self. And I'm unfamiliar with her journey, but I will say quickly, because I know we're going to be wrapping up soon, is that I do have a friend who had stage 4 breast cancer that was metastasized to the bone, and she chose to do all non-traditional. And she, and really, I hope that she will write a book or do some speaking on it, because it took her a few years, and she's now cancer-free. But she did a lot of different types of healing. She saw a lot of different doctors. And one of the things that she said to me was, Lori, I've been in a lot of waiting rooms, and I've met a lot of people, and a lot of people died. And I can tell you that the thing that makes the most difference is whether people are willing to look at their own stuff, and if people are willing to let go of anger and deal with their own issues. She goes, no matter what therapy you do, if you do not address those things, you will not survive. Exactly. And it was such an honor to see her as she was going through these, through this, passage in her life, and to see her triumph, and also, the transformation and that courage that it takes to face something like that. And I also just want to mention, you've probably read Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani.
No.
Oh my goodness. If you guys have not.
Did that just come out?
No, it's been out a few years.
Okay.
And it's I think it's a must read by everybody, because her journey is, she has cancer, and she was deathly afraid of it. She thinks she's going to do all the alternative. She ends up doing that. Then she has to do all the Western. And she basically, the journey is quite amazing. And now she does do speaking.
Awesome.
And her foreword was written by Wayne Dyer. It's very, very powerful.
Okay.
So anyways, so we're talking about healing. I would definitely recommend that book to anybody.
What was it again?
It's called Dying to Be Me.
Dying to Be Me.
And it's by Anita Moorjani.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. I definitely want to check that out. Yeah, I need a good book right now. Like Lana was telling me.
Definitely, that would be fantastic.
Okay. So we were gonna.
Would you like to?
Lori was gonna.
Shall we have you? We were thinking of an intention. And ask
as technology is still here.
Yes, as we move the phone out of the way, and
and we get down to something we can touch.
Old-fashioned tarot cards.
Yes.
Here, let me do this for you.
And we also have Bast here.
Yes. Oh, please, yeah. Go ahead and talk about Bast for a moment while I shuffle cards, because I didn't. Okay. Bastet is a healing goddess, ancient Egyptian healing goddess. There were temples to cats. In ancient Egypt. And Bastet and Sekhmet also the lion-headed goddess are considered goddesses of healing. So that's why we have Bastet here today.
See, that's why I love asking you, because I went, wait a second,
Yeah,
going back in my files.
Go right, take it away. All right, so somewhere in there, if you'll choose let's see, what intention? I was thinking a card for the day for whoever comes to listen to this.
I'm gonna choose a card for
all.
a card for all, and I will say that as we have been speaking about healing, laughter, always the best medicine. Breaks
Yes.
everything up. You don't take yourself so seriously. So let's see what we've got here that can, inspire us and bring some levity. So let's pick out our card for the day. The Hanged Man. Hilarious. Perfect.
That is humorous in some ways, because everyone looks at the hangman and goes, "Oh no, I can't move anywhere."
Right.
But the hangman is an important card because it's not just being. Hanged man doesn't mean stuck in this case. It's something that we do to ourselves. When the hanged man comes in, we hang ourselves up to gain a different perspective. So he's hanging upside down. So it's looking left, looking right, looking around you, stopping to take a consideration of what all has been going on. It is an ultimate meditation card, I would say, in many ways, because you're stopping and you're asking the world around you and your own inner guidance system. You're coming face to face or coming term to terms with. Are you laughing at me?
No, I'm just
teasing.
I'm so laughing because
Coming
this is
to
exactly
terms.
what we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
And to me, it looks like
Absolutely.
it's standing up straight. So
Oh, you're looking. Okay, well, here. And am I showing this to the audience? Here's the hanged man.
mm-hmm.
And you may not want to meditate hanging from one foot, but he's also considered the god Odin who brought us the runes. And he hung upside down from the tree of life, and all of that knowledge, the knowledge of the Alpha through the Omega, came out of him. Those are Greek terms, but in his case, and it was the case that anyone could come by that tree and receive wisdom. So that's what he's doing, is receiving his knowledge, and he's coming to it from a place of hanging or holding still.
Yay.
So there's that would be a point to be made when you sit down to meditate. It's not just, okay, here I sit and I'm uncomfortable and I have to scratch. Can I scratch while I'm meditating? Yes, of course you can. But the point being that you're just sitting with yourself, enjoying the present moment and allowing whatever comes to you to come.
And get to know yourself. Love yourself.
Get to know yourself. Absolutely. Perfect.
Right, and I love the perspective of the hanged man. Is that you're saying he's upside down, getting a different perspective, and that's often how we feel when we do get sick.
That's
is that we feel like the hanged
up.
man. It's like, oh my God, you've got to stop and get a different perspective because you have ended up, in this, exactly upside down where you're like, oh wow, let's take a look.
How did you get here with one foot in the air?
Exactly. But I love on this card that he's got the halo around his head, so he's getting enlightened.
He's connected to his higher self and his higher spirit guides. Yeah,
right.
They're all coming to his consciousness.
And he's hanging from a tree,
Yes.
which we talked about, getting out in nature and connecting to, the life
growth.
force outside, out there in nature.
And that's an
Got it
alignment of, I always thought for some reason, and it does come up, but it's also the alignment of your chakras, the kundalini, that also, which is the life force energy that's flowing and surging. And he's actually upside down too. He's grounding, coming back to the earth. And then he'll be ready one day to get his foot unhooked and go on his merry way. He's in alignment, looking at the tree, which is also about flow. the left and the right side, the central column of energy, but he's upside down because he's connecting down into the earth where you can consider it Mother Earth and where our healing is.
Yeah, perfect.
And then you were going to have something for us.
Yeah, just a short little thing. I'm reading from the book The Complete Works of Florence Scovel Shinn. One of my favorite books. It's basically kind of like a metaphysical text of, kind of on the Bible, certain passages from the Bible. And I just really like her take on this because it's a whole metaphysical bent. But in this in particular, last night before I was going to bed, I just open up the book every once in a while and see what's there. And I started reading. And since we were talking about healing today, I thought this passage was really significant. Do not let your heart's desire become your heart's disease. You are completely demagnetized when you desire something too intensely. You worry, fear, and agonize. There is an occult law of indifference. None of these things move me. Your ship comes in over a calm sea. And so that to me is just so much about getting back to your heart, and that when you stress and you desire something so much, that it can overcome you, and that can kind of, when you're peaceful, everything is in alignment. So it's just basically, similar to the hangman. Anyways, so I know we're wrapping up.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it was
for
such a
being
pleasure
here.
to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank
you.
you again. This is our second visit with Lori. We appreciate you so much.
Oh, you guys.
Thank you for joining us in
Yes.
Cruising the Light and Shadow.
This is Anana Moon.
I'm Sheila Keach-Marie, reminding you that love is everywhere. Our lives touch everyone and everything, so please go forth in love.
Om Shanti.